So, welcome to How to Live in Love. My name is Alexander Bell, and this podcast is in partnership with the book of the same name, How to Live in Love, written by myself and which you can download for free on my website, which is alexanderbell.org, where you will also find all the music I've composed over the last 20 years, all available for free, plus several hundred articles about spiritual liberation, coming closer to God, also nutrition, healing, and many other important topics for our personal benefit. Now, the title of this podcast is called The Most Intelligent Choice You Can Make. So do you know when people are most likely to call out for God's help, even if they don't believe in his existence? Typically, it is in times of great desperation, when there seems no other method of escape from whatever difficult situation they may find themselves in. And I must tell you this, what God most wants for us, his greatest priority, is that we simply turn in his direction, that we recognize his radiant and nourishing existence, and we desire to be with him in our heart and in our mind. This is his topmost priority, and he knows under what circumstances we are most likely to turn to him, i.e., in times of desperation. Now, having said that, it's important to understand that God is not orchestrating the current circumstances in our society, the agendas which are intended to oppress and take away the freedom of as many people as possible worldwide. No, God is not doing this. It is evil which is orchestrating these things. However, God knows that despite the dark intentions behind current world events, everything will work to both his and your advantage. Because as our options run out, we come closer and closer to the point where we will turn in God's direction and call out for divine help. To unite with God is in fact our destiny, but pride, arrogance, and ignorance encourage us to think that there might be another more fruitful way to proceed in life, but I assure you there is not. Nothing in this world can fill the proverbial God-shaped hole in our being. Yet billions of people worldwide are not yet willing to recognize this, and they continue to seek satisfaction and fulfillment among the ideas, objects, people, and experiences of this world, hoping that they will find the security, safety, peace, and happiness that they are searching for. But God wants us to realize and embrace the absolute freedom, security, peace, and joy that come from knowing and trusting him with our life, because he knows we will eventually become lost without him. So even though what is unfolding in our society is slowly but surely making people feel more fearful and desperate, like there is no way out of what seems like a bleak dystopian nightmare, as people's feelings of hopelessness increase, they are actually moving closer to the point where they will be prepared to turn to God for assistance. This moment will actually be the most important moment of their entire life, because it will be the moment when they are willing to recognize the truth of God and thus accept all that he is waiting to bestow upon them. And if you deeply desire safety and security, there is no greater protection than divine protection, I assure you. So even though evil is certainly orchestrating some very dark situations in our world at present, it actually works more to God's advantage, as it will essentially bring his children home to him. Imagine many sheep lost at night among snow-covered hills and mountains, and the shepherd is walking the hills looking for them. If those sheep don't raise their voices and bleat out in the darkness, he will not find them. So we have to speak to God if we want him to come to us, and we have to want to be found. But first we must recognize that we are lost and vulnerable. And this is what many people struggle to do, because many of us are too proud, stubborn, or arrogant to honestly assess the true state of our own heart and to assess what our real needs are. We all need the spiritual protection, light, and love of God in our heart and mind, and there's nothing in the universe that can change this. And so the biggest challenge for many people is accepting this fact and then inviting God into their life, simply by communicating with him. It is only in humility that we call out for help and thus receive it. And due to the arrogance of the human mind, there is a lot of humbling to occur on this planet. Because if we flatly refuse to believe we need any help at all from an outside source, let alone a spiritual source, then we must be led to the point where there is no other option than to put our faith in something that we cannot see or understand. And this is essentially what will be happening across the globe to millions of people who are not yet willing to recognize God's existence. We must remember that he loves us deeply and simply wants his children to let go of their pride, arrogance, and intellectual vanity so that they can receive his love and protection. But this can only occur when we turn in his direction, and this is now our top priority. If you do not yet have a relationship with God, my strong recommendation is to save yourself a lot of anxiety, turbulence, fear, confusion, stress, and suffering by turning to him right now and asking him to bring you a deep sense of security in your heart. Ask him to help you have trust and to be strong and faithful in your heart. Because at this point, it is relatively easy to do so. At this point, the sense of desperation and hopelessness is not too great yet. But it is increasing steadily and will continue to do so, to the point where many people will see only darkness ahead and they will feel completely hopeless, even terrified about the future. This is why we most need God, because he offers us a path of light, a spiritual path for our heart that cannot be affected by anything that is occurring in the material world. He can lift us out of the drama and keep us safe and protected, hidden from threats that may seem inescapable. Only God can do this, I assure you, because only God can protect our heart completely from fear. And fear is a spiritual poison that makes us walk down a dark path in our mind and thus manifest it in our life as a dark reality. The destination that we choose to focus upon is the destination we will move towards. So only by letting go of our tight grip on our fearful expectations of the future can we experience the miraculous blessings of God, no matter what situation we're in. Only then will we see the path of light, which is a path of love, faith, and healing, stretching out before us. And the destination is a truly beautiful one indeed. So as many people start realizing that there is nothing they can do in their own power to fully overcome the darkness, fear, and evil that is flooding into our society, they will inevitably turn their mind towards God, especially as they observe that the people who already have a relationship with God don't seem to be so afraid, so negative and pessimistic as the rest of the population. On the contrary, they seem to have faith that they are protected and safe from harm. They seem to trust that they will be provided for and that there is no need to act out of fear. They actually seem to be genuinely happy and joyful amidst what will seem to some like a nightmare. The nightmare is only a problem if you cannot wake up from it. But fortunately we can, and it is easier than we think. We just need to focus on the light. Waking up to the healing and radiant light of day is the promise that is fulfilled when we turn our mind and heart to God. In doing so, we recognize his divine reality of peace and safety, his protective presence, and his power over the darkness, which is absolute. When you recognize this and you start to understand how God works, you cannot remain fearful because you know that no harm can come to you if you keep your mind and heart upon God's love. You deeply sense and observe his love as being active in your life, and you feel the peace and protection that accompanies that love. Whether we realize it or not, we are all searching for this love. We all want to experience complete security and protection from threat. We all want to live in peace and joy. We all want to feel unconditionally loved. Many of us have just forgotten or are completely unaware that there is a divine force that provides all of these things for us. All we have to do is turn towards it and rely upon it completely. There is no sensible or intelligent reason for us not to do this. Yet many people stubbornly refuse to let go of their pride and do it. Why? Because in their eyes, it would mean debasing themselves by believing in some fairy tale God or invisible saviour. To their proud ego, it would mean becoming weak, foolish, and childish, like believing in Santa Claus. Reality is stranger than fiction, some say, and divine reality is utterly beyond our belief and comprehension. And it would almost be too good to be true, except that it is true. Yet we have gotten used to denying our heart what it most thirsts for: joy, freedom, innocence, and childlike happiness. This is one of the great curses of adulthood and the overdevelopment of our cerebral outlook on the world. So many intelligent people are dismissive of spirituality and divine truth because they cannot conceptualize it as they do with everything else. They cannot mentally grasp it and file it away with all the other knowledge that they have acquired, because it is spiritual and thus ungraspable by the thinking mind. So what we really need to do is dip our toe in the spiritual waters and find out experientially. What happens when we have a little faith and we trust and we ask for spiritual help? Because if you do ask, I promise you that you will receive. Maybe not in exactly the way you expect, but God will respond for sure. He will never turn his ear away from a sincere heart. The big question for many people now is, how much longer will they wait? How desperate do they have to get? How much more anguish and fear can they handle before they finally call out for God's help? Because this is the one vital communication that we all need to make. And from that point onwards, the way forward will be lit up in a way that will blow our minds and excite our hearts. We will see the truly miraculous nature of faith in action before our very eyes. This is a life lived in love with God, who just wants us to let him love and protect us. Please don't wait or rationalize yourself out of having faith. God is most certainly a reality, and everything you truly need is waiting for you if you will just open your hands and heart and accept it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I wish you well, and God bless you.